Can I start?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is the 1st of March meeting for the Sandag Military Working Group. Thank you all for making the time to be in the meeting. Hopefully we'll get through the agenda relatively fast. Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to ask April De Jesus, who's serving as our clerk, to confirm that we do have a quorum.
Yes, we do have a quorum.
Wonderful. Okay. And April, if you'd like to go over the rules of the road for our working group members as well as members of the public.
Okay. For the working group members, when you would like to speak, please click on the raise hand icon in the Zoom control panel. You have control of your video and mute, so please turn on your camera when you would like to speak and I will call on you. And as noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to emailed comments, the public may provide live comments during today's meeting. To provide live verbal comment during the meeting, please join the Zoom meeting either by computer or phone. At the time for public comments, members of the public are advised to raise their hand if you wish to provide comments. The raise hand feature can be found on the Zoom toolbar for those who are joining via computer or by entering *9 for those joining by telephone only. The chair will call on members of the public by name of those joining via computer and the last 3 digits of your telephone number for those joining via telephone. All comments received prior to the close of the meeting will be made part of the meeting record. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of Sandag's website at www.sandag.org. And I'll pass it back to Chair Bonelli for the agenda items.
Thanks, April. Okay. Just to get us started, because it's the new year and we've had a few changes, let's try to go around. I know this might be a little bit difficult, but let's try to go around and reintroduce ourselves to the working group. Again, I'm Commissioner Gary Bonelli, representing the Port of San Diego today, and I'll serve as your chair of the working group. Steve, why don't you jump in next?
You bet. Thank you, Chairman. Steve Chung, I am the Navy representative on the military working group.
Rich Whipple, you want to jump in?
Sure. Rich Whipple with the County of San Diego. I work in the Department of Public Works.
Okay, I see Rick from MCRD.
Rick Unifeld, the community liaison for the Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Okay. I see my city manager from the city of Coronado.
Blair King, City of Coronado.
Wonderful. I do see an NCTD representative, but I can't make out the name. North County Transit District. Okay, we'll move on to somebody else. Commander Griffin, why don't you introduce yourself on behalf of the Coast Guard?
Not sure if that was for me, but I'm Commander Kristen Driscoll. I'm a Chief of Emergency Management down here in San Diego, and I will be standing representing Captain Tim Borelli.
Wonderful. From the Port of San Diego, Amy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Amy Heim. I am the representative for the district.
Help me out, somebody else, because I've got a lot of numbers, but no names.
I'll jump in. Good morning, JJ Gamlin, Marine Corps Installations West, here at Camp Pendleton.
Thanks, JJ. Anybody else want to introduce themselves other than Sandag staff?
Chair, good morning. This is Jeff Hunt with the City of Oceanside. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you. Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for participating. Anybody else?
Chair Spinelli, do you want me to allow anyone else who are non-voting members to talk?
Not yet,
Okay,
just the committee members. Okay, I'll stop there. Okay, let's the Sandag staff that's on the line will get introduced as we get into the agenda. Okay, I'm on the part of the agenda now where any member of the public would like to speak to the working group for any item that is not on today's working group agenda. So any member of the public who wants to speak to the working group for a non-agendized item, please raise your hand so April can see you and let you into the working group. Anybody, April?
I saw Tom Winey. I allowed you to talk.
Yeah, hi, this is Tony Winnie. I'm the Assistant City Manager of National City. So I am the alternate for Brad Ralston, our City Manager.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'll promote you right now.
Thanks.
So any members of the public wishing to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, hearing nothing, to expedite the meeting a little bit, I'm going to move on to item number 2, which is the approval of our 26 October 2020 minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion for approving the minutes.
Move to approve, Chairman.
Okay, Steve Chung, approval, moves to approve. Is there a second?
A second, Rick Unifeld.
Okay, Rick. Okay, there's a motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody,
Aye.
anybody want to register a no or an abstention? Okay, let's assume that's unanimous, April, so you don't have to go around and call the roll. Okay, right up front now, working group members, if there's something just for the general, right now, general information of the working group, any working group member want to throw in any 2 cents right now in the beginning of the meeting? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the chair's report. Because it's in the new year, 2021, there's a number of leadership changes within our respective organizations represented by the working group, but I'll focus today pretty much just on Sandag. Many of you may know that Mayor Steve Voss of Poway is still on the Sandag Board of Directors, but the board voted late last year to install Mayor Catherine Blakespear, the mayor of Encinitas, as the new chair of Sandag. She's been installed for a 2-year term, so she'll serve 2021, 2022 as the Sandag chair. In addition, the board opted to have San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria serve as the vice chairman of the organization. And in a separate action, they voted to have a second vice chair and selected Mayor Alejandra Sotelo Solis from National City to serve as the second chair. From a historical perspective, I know Colleen's on the line too. I'm thinking Sandag and its predecessor, the Comprehensive Planning Organization, have been around since the late 60s, early 70s. And this is the first time I can recall that there's the potential for the mayor of the city of San Diego to serve as the Sandag chair. My perspective on this is, whether it's good or bad, a number of years ago, our sister agency to the north, the Southern California Association of Governments, which encompasses about 7 counties and 200 and something cities, as opposed to Sandag, which is the county and 18 cities. Up in LA, Mayor Tom Bradley was a longtime serving member of the Southern California Association of Governments. And both, the mayor of the LA and the mayor of the city of San Diego, whether they're Republican, Democrat, whatever walk of life they come from, they're always viewed as the titular head, if you will, of local government. So SCAG be able to get a lot of things done. And with the leadership in place now at Sandag, hopefully they'll be able to expedite a lot more things and cross a lot of political and technocratic boundaries with that type of leadership in place. For your information from my agency, we elect a new chairman every year. So believe it or not, we're so incestuous. The former vice mayor of the city of San Diego, a gentleman by the name of Michael Zucchet, is our new chair for 2021. Okay. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit about our military multi-access strategy. Won another achievement award from the Institute of Transportation Engineers in November. There were 6 nominees for the planning category, and this is the second award we received for the work you all helped to accomplish. So good on Sandag. In addition, Sandag recently awarded a $9.3 million Advanced Transportation and Congestion Management Technologies Deployment Grant from the Federal Highway Administration. So the Federal Highway Administration gave us about $9.3 million. This grant represents a partnership between Sandag, Caltrans, Chula Vista, the Metropolitan Transit System, our port, and other organizations to optimize network performance within what we call intelligence transportation solutions that hopefully can improve mobility and safety for moving folks and goods around the region. This grant will help advance the development of the next operating system, including the implementation of a smart intersection and mobility hub technologies. Okay, got that. We got all that. Okay, and probably the other last thing I just forgot about the Region Southwest. We took Steve Chung's boss and moved him from out of the Region South, Navy Region Southwest, and he's been selected by our Port Commission, Joe Stuyvesant, as the new president and CEO of the port. He replaces a lady by the name of Randa Caniglio, who has retired. So Joe has been on the job since the 1st of February, getting the fire hose treatment at the port. What's really nice about Joe, he knows the lay of the land, he knows the geopolitics, and he has served for a number of years on the Sandag Board of Directors as an advisory member. Okay, let's go to item number 5, which is the 2021 priorities update. And the head of planning for Sandag, Colleen Clemenson, will talk about the big 5 priority projects for Sandag during the upcoming calendar year. Good morning, Colleen.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for providing this opportunity. Just wanted to kind of get everybody up to speed on the big 5 priority projects that Sandag is working on and kind of how that aligns with the military working group here. So the 5 big projects, number 1 is our Midcoast trolley extension. And the really good news is that extension project is on schedule, and we anticipate it opening in the fall of this year. So that will extend the trolley from the Blue Line trolley from San Ysidro all the way to Old Town, and now making the connection up to UC San Diego and the VA hospital. So really excited about that to open up. The second big project underway, which is very much related to our coastal corridor, and that is restoring the Mar Bluffs. And so we've got 2 aspects of the work that we're doing along the bluffs. One is just to stabilize what we have there in place while we work on the long-term plan to actually get the rails off the bluffs. And we've got a couple of really big grants that we've received from the state of California to work on that. So we're making a whole lot of progress on the stabilization part of it. And the planning work is underway and actually incorporated into the regional plan on the process to get the rails off the bluffs. Third big project is the Otay Mesa East, so the third border crossing. Again, we just got a big federal grant and some state funding to truly advance work there. And then the fourth project is the Central Mobility Hub and the work that we're doing with the Navy for a, the potential for a joint development at the Navy Old Town Complex. And then part of that being a central mobility hub. And all of this really ties into the fifth priority. And these are not in priority order. They're all equally important. And the fifth is the regional plan. And we are on schedule for the Sandag Board of Directors to consider the plan this fall. We actually have a legislative mandate to have it adopted by the Board of Directors this fall. Otherwise, we fall out of federal compliance, state compliance, and we won't be eligible for state or federal dollars. So we've got a number of workshops coming up with the Board of Directors on various aspects of the regional plan. In February, on February 12th, we presented we took the vision in August, and now how is the vision becoming a plan? And we've actually laid out the early part of that plan, which is everything that we need to do by 2035 so we meet our state goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, addressing social equity, and addressing congestion in that first part of the plan. And then laying out what happens after that. The next big discussion we're planning to have with the board this month is how much does it cost? How could we possibly pay for it? And we've got a funding strategy that we want to lay out and discuss with the Board of Directors. Following that, we're gonna have a discussion on the social equity and how that's being approached. Following that, we'll be talking about the role of technology, which is the big change in all of this. Is technology really creates this whole new opportunity for us to rethink transportation as a system, as a service, as opposed to a collection of, say, projects. And then we will be working with the local jurisdictions to lay out how the regional plan helps local planning, how all of this together helps meet state goals and really addresses quality of life in the region. So we then plan to release the draft plan at the end of May, and then the CEQA analysis will come out shortly thereafter. And then we'll be doing all our outreach over the summer and early fall, getting this ready for board adoption the first week of December. So those are the priorities that are going right now. Lots of changes as the chair mentioned on the Board of Directors, big changes on all the policy committees. There's a lot of excitement with our board about what's happening at Sandag, and we really look forward to working with this group too to bring you along in that process. So that's what I had for the update, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Colleen. Any comments or question from working group members? Okay, while you're thinking about, Colleen, while the members might be thinking about this, and then I'm going to call on the public after that, if there's any public comment. I think one of the keys is going to be with the big 5 moves is, can we first coalesce enough of the government or political leadership to get on board with this plan? That's number one. And then naturally, we're going to have to go to the voters and the citizenry and drum up public opinion. So personally, I don't need you to answer this right now, but I think one of the keys will be, I think staff will do a good job of laying out what the plan will look like and how it might operate and what it might cost. Then the key for Sandag leadership will be, can they coalesce enough of the leadership and to get the train out of the station, if you will, and then provide enough public information for the citizens of the San Diego region to make an informed decision, and remains to be seen. It's, I always go back to the bullet train. multi-billion dollar operation. It's not going too well. Well, I think what we have working for us is that we have a pretty defined area in the San Diego region, being we're buffered by the ocean, the mountains, our international border, and the Camp Pendleton Marine Reservation. I know the Big Five moves is garnering a lot of attention, not only in the state of California, but around the nation, to see if San Diegans region-wide can actually pull it off. So any other comments from working group members? Or I'd entertain any comments from any members of the public that might be listening. Okay, hearing none.
Hey, could I add something? Because you
Sure.
know what's so wonderful is your experience, Chair Benelli, is so insightful, having, worked in this region for such a long time. And I think one of the things that's so, wonderful about the 5 big moves is it actually addresses congestion in a way that it used to always be, we're addressing congestion so that it gets worse slower.
Right.
Now we've actually got a multimodal approach to address congestion and to provide true travel options that are affordable and also get at our climate change concerns. So I think that's one of the things that's truly remarkable about this approach. And technology is the whole new enabler in all of this. It really allows us to manage the system, price the system, all of that, and then be able to make choices by using our phones. So I think that's what is particularly unique, and it's a system approach as opposed to just a series of individual capital projects. And I think those are the things that make this truly compelling. But we will see, as you say, if the board members agree, if the residents and voters of the region agree that this is something they want and they're willing to pay for. I don't know that doing nothing is really an option. So there has to be something.
And so from this working group's perspective too, I think our bias going in is, we do have so many sailors, Marines, soldiers, Coast Guardsmen in this area. We have so many military installations. We have so many communities right adjacent to those installations. So hopefully, if the Big Five moves can come to fruition, one of the side benefits for our military will be they'll be able to move people and goods around better, more efficiently, more safely, and hopefully less impactful on the surrounding communities. So that would be a nice thing to achieve if possible. Any other comments, questions?
I see Blair.
Rick, I always still worry about MCRD. As you will find out, we get later on in this agenda, what the future of MCRD is, because we'll be hearing about the Central Mobility Hub and the Old Town Center. So I expect to see little comments from you when we get to that. I've got some chat here. Okay, I'm going to go to Blair King and then Nicole Burgess. So Blair King.
Hi, Gary. You touched
Morning.
on something, and I just wanted to reflect and maybe do it in a humorous way. But I think that the new airport in San Diego is just doing a great job. That our large regional airport that we have that was a result of the work of the region coming together and saying that San Diego International is too confined and we're going to build a new airport. I say that because obviously we don't have a new airport, and we have a history in the region of dreaming big and it never coming off. I have concerns parallel to our new airport proposal just with this. Hopefully it can happen. Also on a micro level, the 5 big moves really don't address, I don't think, helpful for the most immediate impact for a unique community like Coronado, where there's only 2 ways in and 2 ways out. I think we see a lot of movement in the area, and hopefully it works, but I am concerned that a community like Coronado is just going to be left behind. At the end of the day, we're still going to have a difficult time moving people in and out of naval base Coronado. So anyway, I gotta, when I hear about this, I can't help but think about the airport.
I hear you, Blair. I think one of the big changes, especially in the southern part of the region over the next 20 years or so, again, is the cross-border expressway and what they do with Rodriguez Airfield. I think a lot of people will be flying from all over the Pacific Rim into Rodriguez Airport to get in there and then come across the international border that way. That doesn't solve Coronado's problem. We're an island, Blair, and we're always going to be an island. So it puts real constraints on us. Okay, Miss Burgess, Nicole Burgess, you're up. And April's going to let her in.
Thank you, Chair Bonelli. And good morning, Military Working Group. Thank you for this time to just comment on this. And thank you, Colleen and Sandag staff. I think the vision and the new work of how we move people in San Diego is extremely critical. And I thank you for letting me comment. In regards to military, 30% of our economy in San Diego is the military. And so 30% of our congestion is with military. So as you know, my voice, providing those transportation options as we look at the military bases, as we look at the mobility hubs and the employment districts, tier 1, tier 2, and really creating that, I call it a bike access shed, and showing us how those all integrated parts can work together. So as a military working group, understanding that getting our active military folks and connecting us with transit and active transportation is going to be our best form of resiliency. And so I know that's another topic on this agenda. And I just want to say, I appreciate all the great work and just really highlighting that the military and the folks enlisted in the military really can benefit from this big transportation vision. So I appreciate the work of this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burgess, for participating in our meeting. Okay, any other comments on this item?
Anna Shepherd would like to comment too.
Okay, Ms. Shepherd.
Anna, I think you need to unmute. There you go.
Hi, I'm sorry about that. I had to step aside and help my kids and I didn't hear the question.
Oh, you had your hand up to comment on Colleen's presentation.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I apologize for that.
Okay, Anna, no problem. Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on to item number 6, the San Diego Region Military Installation Resilience. San Diego was awarded a grant from the Office of Local Defense Community Corporation, formerly known as the Office of Economic Adjustment. April, Sarah Pierce, and Rachel Cortez will introduce the grant award on this resilience and milestones and what it hopes to achieve. So ladies, take it away.
Thank you, Chair Bonelli. Sarah, I think that you have the presentation up. I don't know if you want to make it a full screen. I'll go ahead and get started. So as Chair Bonelli said, we've been awarded a grant from the Office of Local Defense Communities Corporation to support San Diego Region Military Installation Resilience, and the team has just kicked off over the past couple of months. Oh, next slide. I've been working with Rachel, Sarah, and Gia, as well as Steve Chung and our CPLOs, with the support of our consultants, HNTB, MBI, and French Connection. Next slide. And the goals of our grant are to assess climate resilience for the Navy installations and develop recommendations to be considered as part of our ongoing CMCP's comprehensive multimodal corridor plan efforts. And we're also trying to develop a framework for data sharing between SANDAG and our Navy to have a consistent process in place that will inform our regional plan and also support sustaining mission readiness with the Navy in our national defense strategy. Our project focus area we developed prior to the restructuring of our CMCPs. So this is our project area of influence for our grant award, and it'll support both the Central Mobility Hub and South Bay to Sereno CMCPs. And we've broken up the grant into having 3 different project leads. Rachel is going to talk about the data sharing framework that we've been working with the Navy on. Sarah will talk about the military installation resilience effort that we've been moving forward with. And then Gia will talk about how we are engaging with the public over the next couple of months for this grant effort. Rachel?
Muted.
Make sure we can't hear you if you're talking. Can unmute.
Rachel, if you can't get through muted, I can cover these slides for you.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Surprise. I'm back. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Not used to Zoom, which I should be. But so as April said, I'm the project manager for the data sharing part of the grant. And the major component of this grant is to develop a framework for data sharing with the military. So we've split this up for this presentation today into 2 kind of types of goals. First, the short-term goals. We've been having conversations with the Navy for the past few months, mostly identifying some of the data sources that we need, ways that we would like to go about getting it, ways that we can share it, how it will be used once we get it. So in the short term, we want to really spell out how important data sharing is to Sandag and to the region, and identifying all of the benefits that having a standardized, streamlined, recurring data sharing process will be for all entities. And the next steps for the short term would be to set up to set up meetings with the groups that April talked about, so that we can start to talk about how to build this framework and think about issues like data privacy, security, and other things that come about when you start to share data between different organizations. Next slide. So this hopefully will roll into our long-term vision for having a framework to share data between the Navy and Sandag. So first, we've really been looking at the ways that we currently use data at Sandag, and some ways that we want to start using it in the future. So we want to see if there's ways to replace the current data products that we use, or get more detail in those products. We want to also explore new data for research and planning. So you can see on this slide, there's a map of the one employment center in the region. We want to make sure that when we create research projects like this, that we have the best data possible from all the military installations in the region. The employment centers, for example, use information on origin and destination of people who live in the region and work on the military installations. So that's the main data product that we're concentrating on when we're starting to think about how to build out that framework. But there's probably other data sources that we've been discussing. Another example would be not just current employment and population of the military in the region, but also projected changes to that, which will be helpful when we start to build the population and housing forecast that's used in the regional transportation plan. So that's it. I'm handing it over to Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Sarah.
Thank you. Okay, so another part of this project is really looking at the resilience of our transportation facilities that are most critical to the naval bases around San Diego Bay, to the impacts from climate change and natural disasters. And so we've been working very closely with the Navy to sort of comb through this initial list of risks that we pulled together. And for this work effort, we've decided to focus on the risks that are kind of shown in the top 3 bullets there. So coastal storms, erosion, and tsunami sea level rise, and then also flooding and storm surge. And part of this, the anticipated outcomes from this work effort are sort of threefold. So first, we want to determine, which transportation facilities are vulnerable to the stressors that we just showed on the previous slide. Secondly, we want to identify ways to mitigate or adapt to those future conditions. And then third, we want to, begin conversations with, our regional partners regarding planning and design considerations for this area, to make sure that we can fold these priorities into different planning efforts that are coming forward. And I just want to note here that this work effort that we have started with the Navy really builds on a lot of existing work in the region to highlight, the Navy perspective with regard to emphasizing how critical these facilities are to Navy mission readiness in the San Diego region. And with that, I will hand it over to Gia.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. So for the communication and outreach component of this grant, what we're really hoping to do is leverage the concurrent comprehensive multimodal corridor plans that are underway. So wherever applicable, we are trying to get in front of those groups and their stakeholders so that we can speak to this effort without duplicating efforts or overwhelming our partners and stakeholders. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind progressing, a few of the key initiatives through the communication effort are to, of course, identify who our key stakeholders will be for this effort, and then mainly to engage consistently with the Navy, including Navy personnel, families, and surrounding communities, to educate them on this effort and what it means to their community and installations. And then, as I mentioned, leveraging communication efforts wherever possible through those comprehensive multimodal corridor plans. Currently, our effort has been primarily focused on engaging with the Navy and building relationships with the community planning and liaison officers at each of the naval installations that this grant is focusing on. We are going to be working closely with the Navy community planning and liaison officers to engage their communities and really rely on their expertise in the best way to do so. We are identifying other key stakeholders currently and hope to begin engaging them over the course of the next few months. We anticipate that our stakeholder outreach and engagement will continue March through May of 2021. And ultimately, the focus is going to be on educating the public as opposed to gathering public input. So we really want to make sure everyone is aware of what this effort aims to do and why it's so critical to the Navy installations. And I'll mention lastly that Caltrans and City of San Diego are also partners in this effort. So we have begun engaging them as well. And unless there are questions, that's it for the communication piece. I'll turn it back over to April. Thank you.
Thank you, Gia. And this is just an overall timeline to our grant commitment to the OLDCC grant. We're about halfway through the grant, and we're hoping to finalize the draft reports by the end of June. And we plan on coming back to the military working group with updates over the next couple of months to inform you of any project updates. And now, if anyone does have any questions or would like more detailed information, you're welcome to email me at this address or give me a phone call. Chair Bonelli, do you want to open up the floor to the members' comments?
I do. So are there any comments or questions, first of all, from the working group members? So let me start in, let me ask a couple, maybe something will chime in. Okay, so I see your timeline. Hopefully, you're looking at June of this year to have a final report. I see that. That's good. That's moving it out relatively fast. At the same time, I hear a lot of Navy talk. Don't forget, we have a Marine Corps, which is part of the Department of the Navy. Plus now we have, again, we have re-engaged the Coast Guard, which is a whole another bureaucracy under the Department of Homeland Security. So if you're I just want to make sure Okay, if you're going to focus your efforts on the Navy, that's fine and dandy. But because if you start getting in with the Marine Corps and the Coast Guard, I don't know how much that's going to complicate your work, or whether you want to do that and or use the Navy as the first step to build on this.
Thank you, Chair Benelli, and I'll hand it over to Steve, and then I'll add on to it. If Steve, do you want to comment on that? I think that part of it is that this grant is a partnership with the Navy, and Steve can talk about it.
No, absolutely. This, because of the items that was just shared by our colleagues from Sandag, the process by which OLDCC requests for nomination, clearly within the San Diego metro area, we have a multitude of military agencies, our Marine Corps colleagues, as well as our Coast Guard. And clearly, as part of this initial effort, looking at some of the key transit corridors with some additional focus on the naval installation, it is a starting point. Our hopes and our expectation is the foundation that we lay here, especially those related to the transportation corridors within the metro region. Should our Marine Corps Air Coast Guard colleagues wish to pursue those efforts further, we will have laid out at least an initial foundation as it relates to the transit corridors. But for the Navy-centric component, there was, as Sarah mentioned, a tremendous amount of work that's been done related to storm and climate on several of our naval installations. And our desire, at least keeping it at least this phase, Navy-centric, was to further that effort for the naval bases. But as this initiative moves forward, and any of our Sanday colleagues working on the project can correct me, it will not preclude our Marine Corps or our Coast Guard colleagues to participate in that process, especially as we look at the transportation corridors. Back to you, Chairman.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for that clarification. I know I've got Mark Ballmer from SDMAC, San Diego Military Advisory Committee, wanting to chime in, but let me stay with the working group right now. I see my city manager, Blair King, has got his hand raised. Blair?
Thank you, Chairman. Just two comments. April and staff, as you work through your work plan, I think you're aware of this, but I'm sure you're going to coordinate with the member cities that also are doing similar projects. Coronado has a grant from Caltrans right now where we're looking at the vulnerability of SR 75 to sea level rise. And one of that pieces is looking at the vulnerability in terms of as a connector to the Navy installation. So I just assume that you're going to be coordinating so we can multiply our efforts or not repeat. And certainly we don't want to come up with different results from two studies. And then the second piece, and I don't know if this study will lend itself, but if there are adaptation plans or strategies for dealing with vulnerability, that would, I think, would be something that is helpful as we look at some of the potential problems or threats to federal reservations. There may be things that local government, especially share the real estate or very close to that, can get out of that as well. So I'm thinking specifically of sea level rise adaptations that the federal government may be used, maybe also something that local government can use. But right now, the state of California has a little bit different opinion about some of the things that may be available to the federal government. So that's a little bit of code, but I hope that if there's an opportunity, and there may not be, but if there's an opportunity, that's something that the study can look at.
Yeah, Mr. King, just to chime in there on your point, you know, we are aware of the work that the city has underway with regard to sea level rise. We've certainly looked at all of the existing studies from other, you know, entities around the San Diego Bay. And as we get just a little bit further down the pipe here, I would say maybe 3 to 4 weeks, we'll really be starting to engage with local jurisdictions, the Port of San Diego, the airport, others around the Bay, as we start having these conversations about sort of long-term planning and design. So certainly is on the checklist to do so. And I do appreciate your comment about sort of federal versus state, methodologies and thoughts as we go forward. We're very thankful to have one of our Navy liaisons who's, pretty well versed in sea level rise planning. And so he's kind of our nexus to sort of the federal level there. And so, yeah, we do hope to sort of bring in any guidance that's related to that and have that work, for our regional efforts going forward.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for that explanation. I'd like to go to Admiral Mark Ballmer from the San Diego Military Advisory Council. Mark, you still online?
Yes, I'm online. So thanks, Chair. Appreciate all this. So a couple of quick comments. So I think what Steve Chung was saying is that there are already engineering considerations that in new construction, probably the coastal campus and the new piers that are being built that address climate change, sea level rise in particular. About a year and a half when Lucian Niemeyer, who was then Assistant Secretary of the Navy for installations, when he was in town, he offered an opportunity for a partnership at that level with addressing planning and engineering considerations for that. So I hope when we engage that the engagement is a listening and not just a speaking of what's going to happen. And as it relates to the transportation corridors, one of the things we seem to have missed over the years is that kind of that final mile. And I think that's part of what Blair King was talking about, is we can fix a lot of transportation issues, but we still have to get those large number of active duty and contractors onto the bases and all the way in through the gate to their final destination. And that should be part of some sort of an aspect of the planning. Thank you.
Thanks for participating, Mark. Any other comments by either the working group members or members of the public on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to item number 7, which is the military working group charter update. Trying to keep this a lean, mean, fighting working group here. April, if you can go into what's being suggested so the working group members have a feel for what we're trying to accomplish with this item.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the red line right now. And Colleen, do you want to kick it off while I pull up the red line? Okay. Oh, you guys don't see my screen right now.
I'd pull up the red line, but I'm not technically that good. I'll probably lose you if I pull up the item.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as you saw on the agenda, we would like to propose a recommendation to revise the military working group charter. It has been requested from our Navy voting members to consolidate the 2 Navy seats into 1 voting seat. And this will also help us obtain quorums for our future military working group meetings. So we've revised the charter to clarify who the voting membership is, and also to consolidate the 2 seats to 1 voting seat for the Navy representation. And so that's what we're coming here with to the military working group today. And so these are the changes that we are recommending as part of the charter. And if anyone would like to comment.
April, tell me if we go ahead with this change, does the board have to approve this, or does Chair Blakespear approve it? How does this get approved?
We would make a recommendation to the Regional Planning Committee, and they would recommend it to the board.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Does anybody have any problems with the changes we're proposing? Are there any members of the public that would like to speak to this item? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to take that as a consensus that we can,
Claire would like to comment.
okay?
Thank you, Gary. And wait, let me unmute myself.
Okay, I gotcha.
I can't tell. I've lost my screen. I can't tell if I'm muted or not. I think I'm unmuted.
Now I can hear you.
Okay, good. So thank you, Chair, and thank you, Colleen, for moving this forward. I just have an issue, not an issue, kind of a comment on the voting membership. This group was put together for a lot of reasons, and one of the reasons was to help advocate for the needs of within the structure of Sandag for the communities that host the military installations, both in terms of funding and data collection from the bases. I think the more that we can do to mirror the voting membership of the Sandag board overall, the better off that will be. So I think we're going in the right direction in terms of the voting membership, but I would suggest that maybe we could have the voting membership mirror the voting membership of the Sandag board itself. So that's my thoughts.
So Blair, are you advocating that essentially we should have 18 city voting members, the county, as well as military installations?
No, for the working group, I'm suggesting that the county and the cities be the voting members of the working group.
Ah, okay. And
so this would exclude the port or the two transit agencies. And the second step off of that would be, if that isn't the wish, then those agencies that have land use responsibilities be the voting members. Again, this group's put together for a lot of reasons, but one of the big reasons was to be an advocate within the structure of Sandag for both the bases and the communities that host the bases.
Okay, and we might have to take that offline, Blair. I hear what you're saying. Those folks that have land use authority are, by my count, about 29 different agencies, considering the 18 cities, the county, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, the port, Caltrans, so on, so on, so on. I mean, so, okay, I hear what you're saying. I agree with the goal. How we get there remains to be seen. Okay, I'm getting, okay. Amy, you have Amy Heim from the port.
Yeah, thank you. I think I want to just reiterate what you just said, Chair Bonelli, and I certainly do respect the goal here and the multiple opinions, but my recollection of why this group was set up was so that we did have a single place where we could have entities that had land use authority around San Diego Bay and that touched the military activities that happened in San Diego Bay, all in one place to jointly address some of the issues that were impacting us. And so to remove the port as a voting entity is kind of goes against what that initial purpose was.
And I hear you, Amy. I'm not sure I agree with you. I mean, because, we've got places like Miramar, Camp Pendleton, the weapons station up in Fallbrook that are all part of, our focus was region wide. So you'd have to, although there's a concentration of military installations around San Diego Bay, there are other entities and installations throughout the San Diego region.
Yep, agreed.
Okay, all right. Other comments, suggestions, items? Members of the public that would like to speak to this? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to assume the changes staff is proposing will be taken to the planning committee and then get final approval by the board. And probably by next meeting, we know whether we get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But I think, my personal opinion, this should sail through pretty easily.
Yep.
Okay, on to item number 8, Central Mobility Hub, Navy Old Town Complex Revitalization Update. Take it away, whoever's Sharon Humphreys. Thanks, Sharon.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Humphreys. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present today and provide an update on Sandag's efforts with regard to the Central Mobility Hub. The city of San Diego is one of the only major cities in the US who does not have a direct, convenient connection between the airport and public transportation. And with this project, we are expecting to address that shortfall. As you know, the Navy is working on a draft EIS that will have 5 alternatives. 2 of those alternatives include relocation of the Old Town Transit Center to the Old Town campus, also known as Navwar. And so Sandag is working in partnership with the Navy and considering a public-private partnership for redevelopment of that area. And so what Sandag is doing is we are moving forward with the Central Mobility Hub project, and we have recently contracted for environmental clearance and advanced conceptual engineering, and we'll be moving forward with a draft EIS and draft EIR. And the project components that will be included in Sandag's project are a enhancement of a transit center at Old Town campus with a central mobility hub, a potential automated people mover connection to the airport, and it may also include some kind of traffic interchange improvements. So as I mentioned, we have recently executed our contracts to advance this work for environmental clearance. And the most important elements that we're going to be moving forward is working in partnership with Caltrans to do a project study report, project development study, to look at the I-5 corridor between I-8 and downtown and look at the traffic potential freeway interchange improvements that best address traffic issues in the region. As you may also be aware, Sandag has signed an MOU with the port and the airport and the city of San Diego to work collaboratively to address traffic congestion in the region. And so we are, we've got a 1 runway airport that is critical to the economic development and continued growth of the city of San Diego. And our plan is to improve access, reduce traffic congestion, and to that airport, and make that better connection with public transportation. And we just have to make the best use of the airport that we currently have. And we can do that by being smarter about the way that we handle public transportation and connections to the airport. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Thank you for that report. Very concise. First of all, I want to open this up to the public. Any public members that want to comment on this item? Okay, I don't see any. April, do you see any? Okay. Back to the working group members. Any working group members have questions or comments? Rick, you have anything you want to chime in here?
Not really. MCRD is supportive of the plan. I mean, frankly, if you simply talk about moving the Old Town station to the Old Town campus area, you actually take care of about 1/3 of our last mile solution for the depot. And now we fully understand that in many regards we're a little entity in this, with only a couple of thousand people a day that access the depot. But moving the primary transit hub to the Old Town campus puts it virtually on our fence line And in most regards, that's a good thing. As far as the connection to the airport, I mean, the technology exists, but we and we are supportive of either a subsurface or a surface connection. We have made it clear that a subsurface connection that runs under the depot is going to have to deal with a number of Department of Defense, Department of the Navy, Marine Corps issues going under historic structures that are occupied by large groups of young recruits and Marines, not surfacing on our little bitty 388 acre facility. There is no opportunity for that to happen. But it, you know, if they want to deal with that level of issue for the sake of a mile or so underground, you know, we encourage their enthusiasm for that task. If they go for a surface route, frankly, on behalf of the depot, I'm not awfully concerned, because if you simply look at the geometry and you take the Old Town campus, Navor, and you draw lines to the end of the runway, recognizing you have to go around the end of the runway to get to the terminals, we're inside that triangle. So there isn't an awful lot of risk to us in that regard. I would say that, and I'm not talking for any of the other installation representatives or commanders, but at different times, you know, there are some particularly naval installations on Point Loma and that might be able to take advantage of a surface route. So if we get to the point where we're seriously looking at surface routing around from Old Town campus to the terminals, please consider the other places that route might approach, that might be able to take it. You could, I guess my point is, you could solve a couple of different problems all at the same time, or help link them. For example, if you wanted to get to the ASW base and you wanted to encourage people to use transit, and that surface transit line taking people from Old Town to the terminals has to run essentially past the front of ASW base. What a great opportunity to encourage service members to use transit. If you can take care of that last mile and they don't have to make 2 bus changes to get there, you may accomplish another goal. But that's it. We're good. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate your perspective as always. Other comments from working group members, questions? And I know Sarah Pierce left already, but I'm sure she's on top of this. Somebody gave me a report over the weekend that looked at airports worldwide and the vulnerability to climate change and sea level rise. And one of the areas naturally that had the most potential for damage from sea level rise was naturally our San Diego Airport and MCRD. So that's something we're dealing with. It remains to be seen how we'll come out with this. Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, I screwed up. Hold on a second. Let me see. I'm gonna go this. Okay, sure. Okay, so my screw up here is on the working group membership. I needed to the changes to that. I needed a vote on that. So to keep me legal, I need to make sure we vote on the working group change. So the charter update. So there are. I'm going to ask for a motion for the to make the change as proposed by staff to the working group charter membership. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, Chairman.
Okay, here's Steve Chung for a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
MCI West, Peter Gamlin, seconds.
Okay, I got Rick Cunningfield for a second. So we've got a motion in a second to recommend to the planning committee, eventually to the board of directors, to make those charter membership updates. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Any opposed or
Aye.
abstentions? Good, we're good to go with that. Thank you. Sorry for that screw up. Okay. Almost the last item here. It is almost the last item. Okay, number, whatever number it is. Okay, we're gonna have an update from Rachel Kennedy on the Central Mobility Hub connections and the comprehensive multimodal corridor plan. And back up, Rachel, a little bit. Tell everybody how we're doing these corridor plans first, and then you can focus in on yours.
Okay, will do. Thank you, Chair Benelli. So my name is Rachel Kennedy. I'm the corridor planning manager for Sandag. I'm overseeing the comprehensive multimodal corridor plan program. And I'm also serving as the project manager for the corridor plan for the Central Mobility Hub and connections. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So this map here shows you the phase 1 corridor plans that we currently have underway. In September of 2019, the Sandag board approved $40 million to produce 12 corridor plans for all of the major corridors within the region. And these 5 that you see on the map are the ones that we're currently working on. So in the yellow, you see our North County corridor, which includes portions of State Route 78, 76, and the Sprinter line. In orange, you see our San Vicente corridor, which is focused around State Route 67 near Ramona and Lakeside. In green, you see our Coast Canyons and Trails corridor, which includes the freeway portion of State Route 67 and State Route 52, as well as portions of the trolley system. In dark blue, you see the Central Mobility Hub and Connections corridor plan that is centered around the area that includes the San Diego International Airport, the Navy's Old Town campus, and portions of Point Loma and Midway in downtown San Diego. And we'll talk in more detail about that one in just a minute. And then in purple, you see our South Bay to Sorrento corridor, which is the largest of our current corridor plans that includes all of the 805, portions of I-5, our Blue Line trolley, considerations for future Purple Line trolley, and a number of jurisdictions. Next slide, please. And we can advance one more. So with the corridor plans, we've also been highlighting some of the improvements that are currently underway. These corridor plans are a collaborative effort between Sandag and Caltrans. And often Nicola Bernard, my counterpart, project manager at Caltrans, features some of these projects, but I'll briefly go through some of the improvements that are either in our corridor or adjacent to it that are underway. So here on this slide, you can see a project that the city of San Diego is working on in partnership with Caltrans that is widening the West Mission Bay Drive off-ramp and installing a shared use path along West Mission Bay Drive. Next slide, please. Caltrans has also been working on a number of transportation corridor investment funded projects which look to reduce truck impacts on the community. So some of the ones that they have been working on adjacent to our corridor just to the south. In 2010, they started work on the 10th Avenue Civic Center Drive and Bay Marina Drive projects. And these projects provided operational improvements, including improved access to the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal, created larger radius curves so that it made it easier for the trucks to make turns, and they repaved the roadway. It installed crosswalks and intersections to make it safer for pedestrians in that area. The photo that you see here on the slide shows a context-sensitive solution, which they're really proud of, which is a gateway sign to the Barrio Logan community, but that also, the sign not only looks pretty, but also helps to direct trucks to use the proper truck pathways and deters them from using Cesar Chavez Parkway through the community.
And Caltrans collaborated with Sandag and the city and the port on all of the projects that are shown here. Next slide, please. So another project that Caltrans is working to study operational improvements on to improve accessibility around the working waterfront, as well as access to and from Naval Base San Diego, is the Vesta Street, Harbor, Maine, and SR-15 project. So that project is going to provide connections between the dry and the wet side of Naval Base San Diego. It will include operational improvements, pavement rehabilitation, and utilize intelligent transportation system technologies. And this project just had a kickoff meeting last week, so it's getting started as well. Next slide, please. Additionally, Caltrans has been making a number of maintenance and operational improvements within the corridor. They have 1.5 miles of freeway miles of striping within our study area, including interstate shield markers, 11 ramps that have had new overlays, 80 signs that were replaced, 3 culverts that were restored. They've been placing in loop replacements so that they can get information to their transportation management center. So there's a lot of different elements that are kind of smaller and perhaps behind the scenes, but make the freeway system work well. So next slide. And we can go one more, please. So the map on this slide here shows you our study area for the Central Mobility Hub and Connections Corridor Plan. It's the area that you see in dark blue, and that includes downtown San Diego, the San Diego International Airport, multiple military installations with MCRD, the Navy's Old Town campus, portions of Point Loma and the Midway community. And then you also see our area, what we call our area of influence, which is shown in light blue on this map. And that includes the rest of Point Loma, portions of the Uptown community, and a smaller piece of Mission Valley. So with our corridor plan, we're going to be focusing the different transportation solutions in the area that you see in dark blue, but we're also taking into account travel patterns, demographic information, and other data from the area that you see in light blue, keeping in mind that the connections to these surrounding communities just adjacent to our study area are very important. Next slide, please. So Sandag and Caltrans are developing this corridor plan in collaboration with the City of San Diego, MTS, the North County Transit District, the Port of San Diego, the San Diego County Airport Authority, and the U.S. Navy. And representatives from each of these organizations make up a project study team that meets regularly to discuss the study effort. Additionally, staff has been coordinating with the community planning groups, the U.S. Coast Guard, the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, and other stakeholders. And information on this corridor plan has been shared with a number of our community planning groups. And we have a public workshop that I'll touch on towards the end of the presentation that's planned for later this month. Next slide, please. So together, the study area and the area of influence, so the dark and light blue areas you saw on the map a minute ago, make up about 6% of the region's population. So it's about 183,000 people live within those blue areas that you see on the map. The area is home to about 12% of the region's jobs, with the largest concentration of those being located in downtown San Diego. We also have a number of jobs located at our military installations, at the San Diego International Airport, and at the hospitals in the Hillcrest area. Our corridor contains about 84,000 housing units, which are a mixture of single family, multifamily, and military housing. And we have about 6% of the region's senior population, about 7% of the region's low-income households, and 4% of the persons in the region who identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color. Next slide, please. So since 2020, the population has grown by about 50% in our study area. Housing units have increased by 38%, and jobs have grown by about 12%. Next, please. So within our corridor, we have a Tier 1 job center. Those are one of our largest job centers, which is downtown San Diego. It has about 76,000 employees and makes up about 5% of the region's employment. And it does have the most dense location of employment. So we have about 27,000 employees per square mile in the downtown San Diego area, which is the highest concentration of employees within a small area in our region. We also have Tier 2 and Tier 3 job centers in the Ocean Beach area, Mission Valley, Hillcrest, and surrounding the airport. Next slide, please. So this map here highlights our existing transit network within our study area. Our corridor is one of the more rich transit areas within the region, with several important multimodal transit centers, including the Old Town Transit Center, Santa Fe Depot, America Plaza, and the City College Transit Center. The area is currently served by Amtrak, with intercity rail service, Coaster, and they both stop at the Old Town Transit Center and Santa Fe Depot downtown. We're also served by the Trolley, which provides connections to the south and east. And in the near future, Midcoast will provide connections to the north, to UCSD and the University City area. And we have a number of rapid buses that connect to downtown San Diego and multiple local buses that provide service in a number of areas. Additionally, there are ferry services that connect to Coronado. So while we do have a number of existing transit services, I think that many of us who've traveled within the area are trying to access some of our job centers and military installations know that there's room for improvement here to make transit really easy and top choice for users. So next slide, please. This map here highlights some of our active transportation connections. So as many of you are aware, Sandag has been working to build out a regional bicycle network, and some of our planned improvements are within our study area here. The city has been working as well to provide some separated bicycle facilities recently in downtown. But there's still a lot of room for growth and active transportation improvements within our study area. We do have a number of, kind of wide, fast-moving roadways, particularly in the Midway area, that makes biking, challenging for most users. Next slide, please. So our study area also contains a number of activity centers. So in addition to the job centers that we noted earlier, we have a number of attractions that draw people not only from our study area, but from throughout the region. So the International Airport, being the largest airport for the region, brings people from all over. The sports arena, the San Diego Bay waterfront, Liberty Station, regional medical facilities. And then we also have the University of San Diego, Point Loma Nazarene University, and SeaWorld and Balboa Park that are just adjacent in our plan area of influence. Next slide, please. So with this slide here, we've been taking a look at data. This is just an example slide from a private sector data source that we have called Teralytics. And it provides us with some information on current travel patterns, where people are coming from and going to. And we've been taking a look at this data to better understand, where people are coming from to go to destinations within our study area and where folks are traveling. Next slide. This slide here shows our existing housing density. And so you can see that currently for our study area, our larger densities of housing are within downtown San Diego and in the Midway area. Next slide, please. So as we're working on the corridor plans and as we will start to develop transportation solutions, one of the things that's really important is that we're making sure that the different solutions that we'll be defining are serving our most vulnerable residents. This slide here shows our communities of concern, which include seniors 75 and older, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and low-income households. So as we're working through the corridor plans, we want to make sure that we're getting input from these communities to make sure that the transportation solutions that we develop are ones that will provide good, high-quality access to all of the users, but especially to some of our more vulnerable users who traditionally may have had challenges in accessing the transportation network and using that to be able to access good quality jobs, higher education, and services. Next slide, please. So you already heard quite a bit about the resiliency aspects from Sarah and April and team earlier in today's meeting, but this is something that we're coordinating with that group on as well. We will be particularly looking in our study area at sea level rise is probably our most pressing climate change element. And as we work on developing transportation solutions and taking a look at our existing transportation network, looking out into the future, we want to make sure that what we're proposing is taking sea level rise into consideration so that we can have our transportation system functioning in a changing world. Next slide, please. And then you can go one more. So working with our project study team and taking a look at the existing conditions information, we've identified some areas of challenge for our study area. We've noted that, some of our arterial streets are mainly car oriented and it makes it challenging for people who are walking or biking or taking transit and then walking to their final destination, sometimes to be able to travel easily, safely. We've also noted, as Sharon noted in her presentation, currently the access to the airport via transit is quite limited. MTS does run a bus service from downtown to the airport, but we don't have direct connections to a number of our other larger regional transit services. Within our study area, there are some very exciting potential opportunities for development or redevelopment. The city has recently appointed a developer for redevelopment of the sports arena. Sandag is currently exploring some opportunities with the Navy at their Old Town campus. And there are a number of community plans that have recently been updated within our study area excuse me, that call for additional development. And so we just need to be cognizant of, the future transportation needs of those areas, as well as the current transportation needs and challenges that our existing residents are experiencing in this area. Next slide, please. So where there are challenges, there are also always opportunities. We have opportunity here to build upon the transit and the multimodal components that are in our study area already and utilize the 5 big moves that have been developed as part of the 2021 regional plan effort that's underway. With the community plan updates that we have in our study area, we have some opportunities to help, make what the city and its residents have envisioned for these areas, hopefully become a reality, at least on the transportation side of things. And we have opportunities to help improve access to our job centers, healthcare, and military installations. And then this slide here, and then the next one is one that we have for our 2021 regional plan effort that's underway and that many of you have probably been participating in, that's looking to build a fast, fair, and clean transportation network. And the Central Mobility Hub, whether it's located at the Navy's Old Town campus or at the intermodal transit site near Washington Street, can serve as a real node within the region to help bring all these different transportation pieces together. So that's an opportunity we have there as well. On the next slide, we have our high-level schedule here. So Over the past few months, we had worked on gathering some of our existing conditions data and doing some initial outreach to our stakeholders that I noted earlier. Right now, we are working on developing some concepts for Central Mobility Hub, both at the Navy's Old Town campus and at the Intermodal Transportation Center site. And we're also going to be starting to develop transportation solution strategies. In the springtime, we're going to be using our transportation model and other tools that we have to assess those different strategies, and looking in the summer and fall of this year to eventually develop our draft quarter plan and our final quarter plan. Next slide, please. And so, as I noted a little bit earlier, we have a workshop that's coming up, and I will provide this flyer to April to send out to the group as well. And we'd appreciate if you can share it with your networks as well. It's going to be a virtual workshop online on March 11th from 6 to 7:30. It will be conducted simultaneously in English and Spanish. You can select which language you would like to participate in, and then that's how you'll hear the presentations. At the meeting, our main focus is going to be on 3 draft concepts that we've developed for the transportation components of a future Central Mobility Hub at the 2 locations that I noted earlier. And they're draft concepts. So we're really looking to get feedback from the community and participants on different elements that you think work well from a transportation and community perspective, and other elements that we might want to refine in the revised concepts that we'll be developing. And we're also going to be seeking input from participants on transportation challenges that you're currently experiencing. So challenges you might have, getting to jobs that could be on our military installations or elsewhere. We have a social Pinpoint is a new virtual engagement hub that we have, and there's a link to that tool on the flyer as well. An element that we have that will go live pretty soon is going to be an online mapping element where you can go and drop little pins to provide comments on specific locations. So it could be for, a street where there's no sidewalk and you want to, sidewalk is needed, or an area you think it would be really helpful to have a bus stop and there's not one right now, things of that nature. So that's going to be upcoming on March 11th, and we'd love your participation. And then on the next slide, we have some information here about how you can contact us and engage with us on the quarter plan program. We have a web page. Each of the individual quarter plans has its own web page pop out that you can take a look at. We have information here for our CMCP project hotline where you can call and leave questions or comments that you have, and information about our different websites and partners' websites, and my contact email and that of Nicola Bernard, my counterpart at Sandag or at Caltrans as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Bonelli, and happy to take any questions from the group. Thank you.
Wonderful, Rachel Kennedy. Thank you so much for a very interesting and challenging report. A lot of complexity to it. And good luck. I know you're going to be extra busy over the next 9 or 10 months pulling this corridor plan together. Let me go first to the public. Are there any public comments about this presentation, or questions or comments any members of the public might have? I'm looking. Ms. Burgess, apparently, okay, Nicole Burgess.
Thanks, Chair Bonelli. I'll be really brief, and just quick thank you to Rachel Kennedy for the presentation. There was a lot of great information, and I was, perked up when I saw active transportation, and this is a challenging, like you say, Bonelli, it's a very challenging place to drive, walk, bike, but it's such a high concentration of all of it: transit, employment districts, and military bases. So just a couple notes. The complete corridors that you have listed, the South Bay to Sereno and the Central Mobility Hub, it appears to me that it's lacking a small little segment in there for those communities of high concern. There's like a gap there in between those 2 corridor projects that we're looking at. And then just on second note, I just will say I agree with Rick, looking at, and the previous comments, looking at those access points around the airport as well, into Liberty Station is a huge destination as well as downtown. And so having that surface transit is going to be super vital for other connections out to West Point Loma and other spots. And then just lastly, as we address sea level rise, it would be nice to see what's happening at the Navor site in comparison to that corridor, and really looking at big visions and concepts for a linear path along that sea level rise corridor from the Mission Bay to downtown. Thank you again for allowing me the time.
Thank you, Ms. Burgess. Okay, comments or questions from working group members? Rachel, I did send you an email earlier this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but I was just, you did a nice job of focusing on the area and its share of jobs and housing and people, and how it's grown over the last 20 years or so. I know Sandag has projections for that area, and I guess I'm wearing more of my Coronado port hat here. My concern is that as the central business downtown continues to grow in terms of jobs and high rise and densifying, a lot more people are going to have the option to be either working downtown or working from their condos and being close to their job. What comes to mind is the high-tech company that's moving in now, where Navy Region Southwest is, where the Pacific Manchester is. The port is redeveloping Seaport Village. We're looking at possible look at what we can do with the across the bay at the ferry landing. So there's going to be a lot more, my sense is there's going to be a lot more people living and working in the central business district. Therefore, they're going to be using San Diego Bay a lot more. Do you have a sense? Can you give me a sense on the growth in the area?
Yeah, so we had some, we saw your email this morning and did put a request in for that data to be pulled with the similar study areas. April just sent me some numbers that I think she just got back from our data staff. So, and I'll send you an email with the table that shows everything together. But from the information we just received, and I'll verify that they pulled the numbers in the same way so that it's directly comparable. But in 2050, the information we were just provided says about 289,000 people for the population. So that compared with 183,000 right now. And then about 263,000 jobs. And then I'm not sure in my notes right here if I have the exact number of current jobs. I have the percentage, so I don't have the exact number of the current jobs, but I'll send you a table, Chairman Bonelli, that has the breakdown of all the numbers for the different years. But it is definitely some noted growth that we are anticipating looking out to the year 2050 for our study area and our area of influence.
Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate that. So just, keep in mind, folks, whether you're a community planner or a military planner, first of all, it's important for you guys, I think, anybody in the planning business to participate in that 11 March community forum that's going to be online. And if Sandag's accurate, and they've been pretty accurate in the past, if there's 100,000 more people living close to the bay downtown with well-educated, taking value-added jobs, living and working in the central business district, it's going to have an impact on the surrounding communities and the military installations around the bay. So it's something we need to keep a focus on. Other questions or comments from working group members? Okay. Rachel, you did a great job covering that, I guess. Let's see. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Okay, we're almost to the last item here. Hold on a second. I'm getting one more. Yeah, okay. The next meeting right now is scheduled for 12 April. April will keep us up to date on that. Steve Chung, I'd like to turn it over to you. I know you want to introduce a new community planning liaison officer.
Oh, great. Thank you, Chairman Bonelli. Yeah, I may have missed the member update at the beginning of the meeting, but I had two quick updates. You mentioned the third with regards to our executive director heading over to the port, but also at New Bay San Diego, we have our new community planning and liaison officer, Yachi Huang, who will has replaced Dave Zajac, which many of you know. Dave has been moved over on temporary detail to my encroachment department in Neighbor Region Southwest. And so I wanted Yachi to just do a quick shout out hello. I believe she is still on the phone. Yachi?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can,
Yes.
thank you. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome. I'm happy to be back in San Diego and working with our installation commanders on matters pertaining to the working of Sandag.
Great, thank you, Yachi. And Chairman Bonelli, also wanted to go ahead and hand over the virtual mic to our commanding officer, Captain Isidomi. I believe he has a quick update that he'd also like to share with the group. Skipper, over to you if you're still online.
I'm looking for him. I don't see him on the attendee list.
Oh, he was on there. Okay, well, it is. I didn't want to steal his thunder, so I will share that quick update. We have our change of command slated at New Bay San Diego. Captain Isidomi will be relieved by Captain Ted Carlson at the end of March. But Skipper Isidomi will not be going far. He will be our new Chief of Staff at Neighbor Region Southwest. So
No
one,
good-
share those
no
quick
good deed
updates
goes
to the group.
unpunished.
Absolutely, absolutely. So back to you, Chairman Bonelli. Thank you so much for allowing me to provide those updates.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for making the introduction too. Other comments or questions or information to be shared by the working group membership? Okay, April, again, we're looking at 12 April for our next meeting.
Yep, April 12th.
Okay, Colleen, are you still with us? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay, anything you want to add, Colleen?
No, I think this has been really good.
Mark Ballmer, I still see you online. Anything you want to add from the Military Advisory Council perspective? I know you've got an upcoming seminar, I think this Thursday. I see Mark, but he's muted. He might just be tuning in.
All right, there I am. Yes, so thanks. We're actually, our board meeting is March 11th, and we are getting the Sandag presentation for our entire board at that meeting. So thank you for that.
Wonderful. Okay, good. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, hearing nothing. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the day. Stay healthy. Get vaccinated. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.